There comes a moment in every life when heaven leans closer than your breath, closer than your thoughts and whispers. You are not alone. I am working for you in ways you cannot yet see. When God begins to help you, something shifts, not outside, but inside. Suddenly the weight you've carried for years begins to loosen. The fears that chased you begin to fade. The voices that once controlled you, doubt, insecurity, confusion, begin to grow silent. When God steps into your story, the first thing He changes is not your situation, but your spirit. And in that moment, everything, absolutely everything, begins to change. My friend, listen carefully. When divine help begins its work in your life, 7 things begin to take shape. 7 movements of heaven, 7 signs of spiritual breakthrough, 7 echoes of God's hand upon you. And the first of these is emotional and spiritual detachment, NT. It may feel uncomfortable, it may feel strange, but it is a holy sign that God is lifting you higher. When God is helping you, you will suddenly feel a quiet separation from the things that once held you captive. You will notice that the dramas that once consumed you no longer interest you. The Pibber Opal, who once had power over your emotions, suddenly lose their influence. The wounds that once kept you awake at night begin to lose their sting. This is not coldness. This is not distance. This is divine alignment. God is loosening you from everything that is too small for where He is taking you. TBR, here is a detachment that comes from pain, and there is a detachment that comes from heaven. Pain detaches you with bitterness. Heaven detaches you with clarity. Pain makes you withdraw from life. Heaven makes you rise above it. When God helps you, He removes your dependence on human approval, because, say, He is preparing you to live from a higher source of identity. He strengthens you until the things that once broke you cannot even bend you. And then something remarkable happens. What used to overwhelm you doesn't move you anymore. What used to intimidate you no longer shakes you. You begin to wabar LK with a quiet, unexplainable peace. Not because the battle has ended, but because you now know the battle is not yours, it is His. This is the supernatural calm that only God can give. This is the peace that comes when heaven fights for you. You begin to discern what is truly meant for your spirit. Suddenly you realize that not every voice deserves your attention. Not every invitation deserves your time. Not every burden deserves your energy. God begins to refine your focus. He begins to pull you away from distractions that are too small for your destiny. The separation you feel is not abandonment. It is elevation. He is lifting you from the lower noise of the world to the higher wisdom of His purpose. And soon, confidence, holy, unshakable confidence, begins to rise within you. You stop begging for affirmation. You stop negotiating your worth. You stop apologizing for what God is doing in your life. You walk with authority because you finally understand that grace is carrying you. Favor is going before you. Angels are surrounding you. Breakthrough is aligning for you. When God helps you, your tears become seeds. Your past becomes a teacher. Your wounds become wisdom. Your silence becomes strength. You stop clinging to what is fading and you start reaching for what is eternal. You become detached not from love, not from compassion, but from everything that once weakened your spirit. This is the sign that heaven is working. This is the evidence that God's hand is upon you. This IBRS, the moment everything begins to change. So stand firm, stay calm, stay aligned. For when God is helping you, you will know it not because circumstances get easier, but because you become stronger. Not because battles disappear, but because you rise above them. Not because life becomes predictable, but because you become unshakable. This is the power of divine detachment. This is the beginning of breakthrough. This is the proof that God is lifting you into a higher realm of purpose. And from this moment forward, you will never be the same. When God begins to help you, the first movement of His hand is subtle, almost invisible to the natural eye, yet unmistakably powerful in the spirit. It is the quiet detachment of your heart from everything that once controlled your emotions, your confidence, and your sense of identity. This detachment is not coldness, not distance, and not emotional Schuberty down. It is the holy repositioning of your spirit. It is God gently removing the weights you didn't even realize you were carrying. It is the divine separation from everything that has tried to define you, limit you, or lower you. When God helps you, He does not begin by rearranging circumstances. He begins by rearranging loyalties. Loyalties of the heart, loyalties of the mind, loyalties of the spirit. What you were once attached to out of fear, insecurity, or unhealed wounds starts losing its hold over you. Where you once clung tightly, you begin to release. Where you once felt powerless, you begin to rise. Where you once depended on others to affirm your worth, you begin to feel heaven affirming you in a way no human voice ever could. This detachment is the first sign that God is taking you to a higher level. When He wants to elevate you, He first frees you. He frees you from emotional prisons you didn't know you were living in. He frees you from the need to be understood by everyone. He frees you from the exhausting tendency to react to every mood, every comment, every shift in people around you. Where once you would have been shaken by rejection, now you find yourself strangely calm. Where once anger or disappointment could pull you into emotional chaos, now you feel a steadying presence holding you together. This is not your strength. This is His. This is the mark of divine help. God begins to teach you that peace is not found in the outside world. It is cultiva. TED in T-E-R-E, inner one. And when He strengthens your inner world, the external storms no longer dictate your responses. You detach not because you are tired, but because you are transforming. You detach not because you don't care, but because you care more about what God is doing inside you than what people are doing around you. As God helps you, the detachment becomes deeper. It begins touching your fears, your anxieties, your past stories, your old patterns. You will notice that the memories that once wounded you no longer sting the same way. The insecurities that once whispered lies to you begin to lose their voice. The triggers that once brought you down suddenly feel powerless. When God is assisting your spirit, He doesn't just remove the weight, He strengthens the muscle. He makes you spiritually stable where you used to be fragile. He gives you a seriousness of purpose that replaces emotional restlessness. You stop fighting the wrong battles because you finally understand the right ones. You stop explaining yourself to those who are not meant to understand. You stop chasing validation in places that were never capable of giving it. You detach from the noise because your soul is rising to a frequency where noise cannot survive. This form of detachment is the birth of discernment. When God helps you, He sharpens your spiritual senses. You begin to see what is real and what is merely distraction. You begin to feel when something is not aligned with your purpose. You begin to realize that not every invitation deserves your yes. Not every relationship deserves your closeness. Not every opportunity deserves your energy. God begins to teach you the sacred discipline of emotional economy. He shows you that your heart is too precious to be scattered everywhere. He shows you that your spurber, it is too valuable to be drained by things that do not push you into destiny. And so the detachment becomes intentional. It becomes a spiritual protection placed around your life by God Himself. As He lifts you higher, He shields you from what cannot go with you. And in that divine separation, something miraculous happens. You begin to feel lighter, clearer, stronger. You begin to move from reaction to revelation. You begin to replace anxiety with authority, fear with faith. chaos with clarity. Your emotions stop leading you. Your spirit starts guiding you. And this is the proof that God is helping you. This is the evidence that He is preparing you for greater things. It is the transformation that begins in the secret place, but manifests in every part of your life. The detachment is not lost. It is preparation. It is God clearing the path so you can step into the future He has already designed for you. And once this detachment begins, everything in your life will start shifting toward purpose, alignment, and divine destiny. When God begins to move in your life, one of the clearest signs is a supernatural calm that starts settling inside you, a calm that cannot be explained by circumstances and cannot be shaken by disruptions. It is the kind of peace that does not come from understanding what is happening, but from trusting the one who is guiding you. When divine help surrounds you, the storms around you may not change immediately, but something within you does. You begin to realize that fear has lost its grip. Anxiety no longer feels like a chain around your heart. The pressure that once overwhelmed you no longer has the same power. This calm is not passive. It is a spiritual force. It is God Himself strengthening the deepest part of your being. You start seeing that every rise situation does not require your reaction. Every emotional shift in others does not require your response. Every unexpected change does not require your panic. You feel protected, even if you cannot see the protection. You feel guided, even if the path is not fully clear. And this inner stillness becomes the proof that heaven is working in your favor. As God helps you, this supernatural calm becomes a stabilizing foundation. You no longer bounce between moods the way you once did. You no longer collapse under pressure the way you used to. Situations that previously triggered you now meet a different version of you. You respond with wisdom instead of worry. You act with clarity instead of confusion. You move with intention instead of emotional impulse. This is not because life has suddenly become easier, no. This is because God has strengthened your spirit. He has fortified your inner atmosphere. He has placed a spiritual barrier between you and the forces that once drained you. You begin to realize that your peace is not merely an emotional experience, it is a spiritual inheritance. It is God's fingerprint upon your soul. And the more this peace grows, the less control external circumstances have over you. You notice you are no longer controlled by outcomes. Your spirit stops depending on everything going right in order to feel grounded. Instead, you begin to feel grounded even when things are uncertain. This is one of the greatest signs that God is helping you. Uncertainty no longer intimidates you. Unknown paths no longer threaten you. Delays no longer discourage you. Instead of drowning in what you cannot control, you begin to rest in the certainty that God controls what you cannot. This shift is profound. It is not intellectual, it is spiritual. God is teaching you to rely on His presence more than your predictions, to rely on His guidance more than your understanding, to rely on His timing more than your plans. The calm within you becomes evidence of a divine exchange. You give God your fear, and He gives you His peace. As this presence continues to strengthen in you, something else happens. You begin to see situations differently. You start interpreting challenges not as signs of defeat, but as signs of direction. You start viewing delays not as punishment, but as protection. You start sensing that God is not withholding something from you. He is preparing something for you. Your perspective shifts from pain to purpose, from confusion to confidence. You begin to discern that every closed door is intentional. Every redirection is strategic. Every unanswered prayer is part of a bigger answer forming behind the scenes. This calm allows you to see with the eyes of faith rather than the eyes of fear. You start trusting the process because you trust the one guiding it. As your spiritual stability grows, you stop engaging in unnecessary battles. You stop fighting people. You stop fighting your past. You stop fighting for recognition or validation. Instead, you begin fighting the right battles: fear, doubt, discouragement, negativity, and you fight them from a place of victory, not desperation. God begins to show you that not every fight is yours. Not every problem deserves your energy. Not every voice deserves your attention. This calm becomes your or spiritual filter. It directs your focus toward what matters and shields you from what doesn't. You no longer waste energy reacting to everything. You start responding only to what aligns with your purpose. And then a powerful spiritual truth becomes clear. Peace is not the absence of struggle. Peace is the presence of God. And when He is with you, no challenge can destroy you. No setback can stop you. And no storm can drown you. This calm becomes a testimony. It becomes a witness to others that something heavenly is working in your life. It becomes the atmosphere from which you make decisions, speak words, and walk forward. With every step, you carry the assurance that you are not alone, not abandoned, not forgotten. You are guided, you are strengthened, you are equipped. When God helps you, your spirit becomes unshakable, even while life remains unpredictable. This is the peace that marks those chosen for greater things. This is the calm that proves God is carrying you. This is the inner transformation that prepares you for everything He has planned. When God begins to reveal your purpose, He does not do it by adding more noise to your life. He does it by removing what no longer aligns with where He is taking you. This removal is often misunderstood. It feels like loss at first, like separation, like doors closing before you were ready. But in the realm of the Spirit, this separation is a divine act of precision. God is drawing a line between what belongs to your past and what belongs to your destiny. He is untangling you from people, patterns, places, and emotional attachments that cannot travel with you into the future He designed. What seems like subtraction is actually preparation. What feels like rejection is actually redirection. What looks like an ending is usually the clearing of space for a greater beginning. When God begins to help you at this level, His hand becomes very strategic. He removes distractions so you can hear Him. He removes burdens so you can walk freely. He removes attachments so you can rise without being weighed down. And just like a tree must shed leaves before new ones grow, you must release what is no longer aligned before you can embrace what is coming. This divine alignment begins to reshape your desires. You notice you no longer crave the same validation, the same circles, the same comforts that once defined you. What once satisfied you now feels too small. What once entertained you now feels empty. What once convinced you to settle now feels foreign to your spirit. This is because God is elevating your appetite. He is expanding your capacity. He is awakening something inside you that refuses to remain trapped in old cycles. When heaven begins to assist your purpose, the misaligned things in your life become uncomfortable. You lose the ability to fit into places you have spiritually outgrown. Conversations that used to excite you now drain you. Environments that once felt normal now feel restrictive. God is pulling you into a higher identity, and the pull creates a holy restlessness. You are not breaking down, you are breaking out. You are not losing yourself. You are finding the version of you God always intended. And as this transformation unfolds, clarity begins to rise like dawn breaking over a dark horizon. You start seeing with new eyes. You begin to recognize closed doors as protection rather than punishment. You start understanding delays as divine timing rather than denial. You begin to interpret spiritual resistance as a sign that you are moving in the right direction. God sharpens your discernment until you can sense what is meant for you and what is not, even before the evidence appears. You learn to trust His whispers more than your worries. You learn to lean on His direction more than your old patterns. You learn that His no is often the greatest gift, because it leads you to a YBRES that will transform your entire life. This clarity leads to boldness, holy, fearless, unshakable boldness. You begin to take steps you once hesitated to take. You begin to speak with a confidence that surprises even you. You begin to walk into places you once avoided because you doubted your word per H. You begin to act as someone who knows they are guided by God, supported by heaven, and empowered by grace. This boldness is not arrogance, it is awareness. Awareness that you are chosen. Awareness that you are protected. Awareness that everything in your life is being orchestrated with purpose. God helps you. He does not make you loud. He makes you certain. He makes you steady. He makes you spiritually grounded so that nothing external can pull you away from what He has planted inside. And then something even deeper happens. You stop forcing things. You stop chasing what is running a wobber why. You stop trying to convince people to stay. You stop fighting for what God has already removed. This is the mature stage of divine alignment. This is where trust becomes natural, where surrender becomes strength, where obedience becomes freedom. You begin to understand that what is meant for you cannot be taken from you, and what is not meant for you will never bring peace. You rest not in resignation, but in revelation. Revelation that God's plan is better than your pressure, His timing better than your timeline, His direction better than your desire. Everything begins to change from that place. Decisions become clearer, boundaries become stronger, values become deeper. You move through life with intention, discernment, and confidence. And without even noticing it, you become the version of yourself that God always saw, the version shaped by purpose, refined by detachment, empowered BBRY clarity, and guided by divine alignment. This is how God prepares a person for destiny. This is how He lifts someone into their calling. This is how He reveals purpose, by removing what is not yours so He can release what is. And once this process begins, nothing in your life will ever be the same again. When God fights for you, confidence begins to rise from a place so deep within that even you cannot explain it. It is not the confidence that comes from accomplishments or praise, nor is it the confidence born from talent or knowledge. It is a holy confidence, one that forms quietly, steadily, unshakably, because you finally realize you are not walking through life alone. This confidence is the fourth sign that God Himself is helping you. Before, you used to question everything, your steps, your timing, your worth, your decisions. You would seek approval to feel secure, validation to feel seen, affirmation to feel significant. But when God steps into your journey with intention, those insecurities begin to lose their power. You no longer depend on the applause of people to feel valuable. You no longer shrink yourself because others are uncomfortable with your growth. You no longer silence your voice because you fear judgment. God begins to anchor you in your true identity, the one He wrote long before the world tried to label you. This confidence does not announce itself loudly, it grows silently. You start noticing that you no longer feel the need to justify yourself. You stop explaining your value. You stop negotiating your worth. You stop being intimidated by environments that once made you feel small. Something within you stands taller, speaks clearer, moves differently. You are not the same. God is strengthening your inner posture. He is teaching you to walk with the dignity of someone who is favored, guided, and backed by heaven. And this shift changes how you show up in your own life. Where you once doubted whether you could do something, now you ask, why not? Where you once feared failure, now you see it as a stepping stone. Where you once hesitated to move BRE forward, now you feel propelled by a force greater than fear. This divine confidence also changes the way you see obstacles. Challenges that once overwhelmed you now appear smaller. Setbacks that once discouraged you now ignite your determination. You begin to understand that if God brought you to a place, He will surely equip you for it. You start moving with the certainty that every step you take is supported by grace. You stop viewing yourself as fragile and begin seeing yourself as chosen. You stop asking, "Am I enough?" and start declaring, "God is with me, so I cannot fail." This is TBRE mindset of someone who has been touched by divine assistance. This is the spiritual shift that separates the fearful from the purposeful, the hesitant from the unstoppable. And as this confidence deepens, you begin to reclaim your voice. You stop allowing people to define your limits. You stop accepting roles that keep you small. You stop surrendering your power to the opinions of those who don't understand your calling. Your confidence becomes a quiet revolution within you. It restores what life tried to steal. It rebuilds what people tried to break. It resurrects dreams you thought were DBRE'd. It gives you the courage to pursue what once seemed impossible. And in that pursuit, you begin to see evidence of God's hand everywhere, opening doors, aligning opportunities, positioning you in rooms you once felt unworthy to enter. But this confidence is not aggressive. It is grounded. It is SBR-secure. It is rooted in humility, because you know the strength you carry is not yours. It is God's. You become bold without becoming arrogant. You become courageous without becoming careless. You become strong without becoming hardened. This is what divine empowerment looks like. It is the blending OBRF boldness and grace, authority and gentleness, conviction and compassion. You move with purpose, but you also move with peace. You speak with influence, but you also listen with wisdom. You act with certainty, but you stay surrendered to God's will. As God continues to help you, you also begin to NBROTs, that you no longer fear losing things. You no longer cling to people who were never meant to stay. You no longer chase after opportunities that are not aligned with your spirit. Why? Because confidence has taught you that what is meant for you cannot be taken from you. And what is not meant for you could never give you peace. This understanding transforms your relationships, your decisions, your boundaries, and your future. It teaches you to move with discernment instead of desperation, with intention instead of insecurity. And then the ultimate shift happens. You start seeing yourself the way God sees you. Not as weak, not as limited, not as broken, but as capable, valuable, purposeful, and deeply loved. You begin to believe that you were created for impact. You begin to trust that you are equipped for every assignment placed in front of you. You begin to carry yourself with the assurance that heaven is supporting every step you take. This is the confidence that marks those who are walking under divine help. This is the confidence that turns ordinary people into leaders, warriors, healers, and visionaries. It is the final release of everything that once held you back, and THBRE full embrace of everything God has prepared for you. And once this confidence awakens in you, nothing, absolutely nothing will ever be able to stop you again. When God begins to help you, the transformation is not loud, but it is undeniable. It starts deep within, where no one sees, yet everything CHBR anges. He loosens your attachment so you can rise. He settles your spirit with a calm the world cannot shake. He removes what is misaligned so your purpose can unfold. He builds a holy confidence in you that no challenge can break. These movements are not random. They are the fingerprints of heaven on your life. They are the signs that God is preparing you, shaping you, lifting you, and positioning you for what He has already written in your destiny. You are not walking alone. You are not fighting alone. You are not growing alone. God is with you, guiding you, strengthening you, reshaping you FBR, ROM, the inside out. And when His hand is upon you, you will outgrow who you used to be, overcome what once defeated you, and step into a life aligned with purpose, clarity, and divine power. Everything begins to shift. Everything begins to elevate. Everything begins to make sense. This is the Jeroboam of someone God has chosen. This is the transformation of someone heaven is helping. And from this moment forward, nothing in your life will remain the same.